Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Dunswell Zoo. I sound better. I feel a little bit better. Still some illness remaining. So, the last episode, which I hope you all saw, was primarily the platypus habitats, which are actually just behind me here. So, if you haven't checked out that episode, go ahead and check it out, please. And at the end of that episode, I showed you a few updates over in the South America section. But primarily, it was the next episode, which is this episode, was going to be the Tasmanian Devil habitats. And they're going to be two very different habitats. One's going to be sort of jungly forest themed, and the other one's going to be grassland, desert, sort of scrub themed. Blending them together is going to be an issue, because of course we're carrying on this jungle theme from the Numbat habitat. But we're also carrying on this theme of sort of scrubland, deserty, grassland from the yellow-footed rock wallabies. So blending them in the middle in a natural way is going to be really difficult. But that's what I'm going to be doing this episode. Since the last episode, I have split the Numbat habitat in two. So there's now two Numbat habitats, which means even more Numbats, but that's absolutely fine, because they are critically endangered. This is now the other Numbat habitat. I might do this one again. I'd literally just split in the middle. So I definitely might redo this habitat. This one I'm alright with. You know, the enrichment is up front, there's a burrow up front, the food's up front. You're going to get a fair amount of viewing of the Numbats. And then they sort of have this area. You can see there's one there. They have this area where they have lots of babies apparently, and they can do whatever they like. But the viewing opportunities from here is perfectly fine. But this one, I don't know. I'm not a fan of this in the middle. But it's not a nice viewing opportunity. So I might redo this planting at some point, but it can wait for a little while. There will probably be an episode at some point, what I haven't planned for, where I will just do touch-ups of stuff in the Australia house, excuse me. I haven't changed the planks yet on the yellow-footed rock wallaby habitat, but their habitat sort of needs retouching a little bit as well, although they are using the rocks, to be fair. It's just, there is land behind here, but I've never seen the rock wallabies use it, even though they can. And I just don't like the view from down here. So yeah, definitely this will need redoing at some point. Platypus Hab needs a bit of TLC here and there. Numbat Hab. Wombat Hab I'm fine with, to be honest. I quite like how it looks. Monarchs. We've got some more monarch butterflies in there now, but you still can't really see that there are any. There's some. They're mostly over here. So we had 4 males and 4 females. There's now, I think, 12 individuals in total, something like that. I've still not done anything with these habs yet. But no, the Tasmanian Devil then, they're coming from the breeding program. So I'm thinking we're going to have one enclosure for breeding, and then the other one will sort of be either a bachelor group or a non-breeding group, just because if we go ahead and look at the information, so they are endangered, of course. So desert grassland and then temperate tropical. You can have up to 6 males and 6 females, or 5 in a bachelor group. So let's do 6. Although that's 1 to 10, isn't it? Let's do 10. And how many juveniles can they have? 2 to 5. So let's say I have 5 males and 5 females. That's 25 juveniles. So they only need 168 meters squared in total for the maximum footprint. And they're getting way more than that. So we could cram them in, but I don't really want to do that. So if we just go back. So there's an alpha male and an alpha female, and they are monogamous, but they're shy. So viewing opportunities will be limited, but I still want guests to actually see the animals. I've also got stress turned off just because it makes things easier, but we are building for realism here, of course, so we'll keep that in mind when building the habitat. So they can use the tunnel, curio ball, bamboo feeder. I don't actually know how big they are. I've never seen them in the game. I'm assuming they're quite small if they can use the tunnel. Species data. 30 inches long. They're tiny. I'd have thought they were bigger than that. So maybe we can fit a few Tasmanian Devils in, to be fair. Maybe let's just look. Hey, that one's named after me. But it's got a paw size gene. So we'll see later down the line. But that's definitely what we're going to do this episode, is build these 2 Tasmanian Devil habitats. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build one and then show you how I've done it. And then I'm going to build the other one and show you how I've done it. And then we're going to put the animals in and we'll do it that way. Speed builds, still not really my thing. And I have no ideas for this habitat other than it's going to be like deserty, scrublandy themed. And that one's going to be foresty, jungle themed. But in terms of the fence design and rock placements and stuff like that, I have no ideas. So I'm not going to do a speed build for this. We're just going to keep it nice and short and sweet. With that in mind, my friends, I shall see you after I've completed the Tasmanian Devil habitat number 1. So hello, my friends, and welcome back. It is another day. I technically finished the first Tasmanian Devil habitat yesterday, but it was too late to record anything. So it's the next day now. And let's go have a look at it. I'm really pleased with how it came out, actually. So you'll see it start to come into view as we sort of turn around here. We've got the education boards, got some nice big glass panels. Excuse me, all the planting is in. Got these high rock walls. And here we go. So this is your first viewing opportunity for the Tasmanian Devil. You can actually see we've got one just up here. They're not that small, actually. I thought they were going to be a bit smaller because they can use the tunnel enrichment in the game. So I did think it was going to be a bit smaller, but probably that's actually quite small compared to what they are in reality. They're probably about the average size of a household cat. Maybe a bit taller, I reckon, in the legs. So about 30 centimetres high, I reckon. Tasmanian Devil, something like that. Yeah, we have Frank here for some scaling, and because obviously the Tasmanian Devils can give a quite nasty nip, I didn't want anyone risking putting their hands over, so the panels go above head height, and even reaching your arms up, you wouldn't be able to get your arm over the top of a glass for the Tasmanian Devil to bite. And because the Tasmanian Devils are really sort of shy and rare, this is one-way glass, so their stress is reduced. But this one is the desert themed habitat. Of course, we're working on the forest one in just a few seconds. Well, not just a couple of minutes maybe, but I'll just show you around in here. So up front, it's nice and open with sand and planting at the sides and a cave. It's very much sort of your focal point of the habitat. But you can sort of see over here on the left, we've got some enrichment over here. lots of planting with the new grasses from the grassland pack. Enrichment on the back here. Water here. And then they can't use the burrows, so I've made them these little sort of makeshift shelter things. I might half this so there's only access from like here, if that makes sense. So the Tasmanian Devils can have a bit more privacy if we just shut sort of half of the front off. And there's some planting here to create some privacy between the two different housing units. Got some small stones, stuff like that. Got some enrichment down here, and again, same story, just some shelter back here, just to get away from the sun, and if they need some privacy from the guests or even the other devils, then that's what that's there for. And there's some more planting around here, enrichment back there, and they can use this cave. They can go in it and they can go on it. There's a little ramp up the side and they can actually climb that, and they can come up here and stand on here if they so wish, which I think would be a really cool view of the Tasmanian Devils actually, if you stood down here and you end up seeing one sort of up here and then there's one down here. That would be really cool. So my plan for this habitat is to have 4 Tasmanian Devils in there, 2 males, 2 females. I do need to do something about that, but that's the first habitat done, and it ended up being 1152, but it's 864 out of 60 in terms of navigable land area, because that's more than enough for them. That's why I'm thinking 2 males, 2 females, because there's enough space in here for them to not have any territory disagreements or things like that. And then I think in this one, the foresty jungle habitat, we're going to probably have a few more in there, just 'cause it's going to be a bit more difficult to see the Tasmanian Devils in there anyway, because there's going to be lots of planting. So I think the more Tasmanian Devils we're going to have in there, the better. I think that's going to be our bachelor group. So we will hold Tasmanian Devils that are waiting to go to other zoos, or Tasmanian Devils what have been retired from the breeding programme, or Tasmanian Devils that aren't part of the breeding programme, but we're going to keep them. They'll go in here. Not sure whether to go for a group of males or a group of females. Either way, we can have a maximum of, I think 6, is it? 5. So we can have a maximum of 5 of each, and they'll be going in here, and that's what we're going to be working on in now just a few seconds. But yeah, this is the footprint for the first habitat, and it's pretty much done. I'm very happy with how this is. I'm happy with the planting, I'm happy with the layout, I'm happy with the viewing opportunities. I'm just generally pleased quite all over, really. So I shall see you all in just a few seconds for you, probably another day for me, and we're going to be doing the forested sort of jungly Tasmanian Devil habitat. It's also worth noting as well, Jack is the only Tasmanian Devil I've been able to get at the moment what's got sort of semi-decent genetics. If we go onto the market, you know, facilities, nil pois, size. So really difficult to get some good genetics for the Tasmanian Devil, but we'll work with whatever we can get. So I shall see you all shortly for Tasmanian Devil Part 2. So I shall see you in a few seconds. Well, welcome back everyone to the final part of the Tasmanian Devil habitat build. We're just going to get stuck straight in. I will show you what I've gone ahead and done, and I will tell you what the plans are for the next few episodes and the plans for the Australia house in general. So we're going to approach from here, and this is the second Tasmanian Devil habitat. You see we've actually got some in here. How close can we get to the curve? About here. See, there's one there. There's one there. There's actually 5 in here, so we should get plenty of viewing opportunities, but they have just been fed, so they might be going off to nap. But of course, the other Tasmanian Devil habitat is this one. They've also just been fed and they're yet to emerge for their food. Here's one. We've actually got 6 in here in total. I decided it was big enough and sort of sparsely planted enough that we'd be able to get away with 3 breeding pairs. So we've got 3 males and 3 females. Here's one using the little cave. There's another one there, and another one there. So there's 4. There's 5 asleep in the little shelter that I made for them. So we're just missing 1 Tasmanian Devil. There it is. And there's 6. So we have 6 Tasmanian Devil in here. So that's 3 breeding pairs. And we have 5 females in this one. So 1 is desert, sort of scrubland, very arid looking. That there's not a lot of life here at all, really. All the trees are quite dry, very sort of dry, burny, creamy brown colours. And of course over here there's a bit more green because it had to blend with the habitat next door, which is the forest stroke tropical sort of variant. They do still need sand, unfortunately, but you can't really tell there's that much sand in here, to be honest. So it's much more densely planted. There's a much greater tropical sort of overgrown feel to it. And of course, this habitat was designed to house surplus Tasmanian Devils, or indeed Tasmanian Devils waiting to be released to the wild or to go to other breeding programs or other collections. So it's much more natural, this habitat, just to prepare the Tasmanian Devils for their re-release, potentially. So it's also quite hilly, this one. I wanted an incline. So we've got 1 in there, 2 in there, and there's 2 down here. That's your 5, the 5 females. So yeah, really happy with how these habitats have turned out. I am super, super happy with how these habitats turned out. Quite possibly up there with the marsh deer habitat as my favourite habitats, just because I've pushed myself a bit more in terms of my skill set and what I can build and what I can't build. And obviously this one is inclined at the back, and it's sort of very natural but also themed at the same time. And 2 very different habitats for the same species, just to showcase the variety of habitats that they can live in. And I think it's turned out really, really well, and I'm really, really pleased with it, and I hope you all are too. So what's next for the Australia house then? So I've had these plans in place for a while, but the end of those plans has changed a little bit. So the next habitat we're going to work on is the tree kangaroo, which there's 2 habitats for the tree kangaroo. There's this big one here, and there's a smaller one over on the back here. And the tree kangaroo species that's going to be going in is the Lumholtz tree kangaroo. If I just bring up Lum. So Lumholtz tree kangaroo is found there on the northeastern tip of Australia. You can have 1 male, 3 females, or 4 females on their own, or 3 males on their own. So I think what I'm going to do is have 3 males and 4 females. No interspecies, and they only like tropical habitats, so that makes things pretty easy for me. Guests can enter the habitat, but they're not going to in this instance, and they can only have 1 offspring at a time. So let's do, so for the 4 females they'd need 55 meters squared. Oops, that's one of my books what's just fallen. They need 55 meters squared total land requirement and 21 meters squared climbing requirement. That's for the 4 females, sorry, and if they all have juveniles, 65 again, and then 25 meters squared. And if we just click on this, it's going to be like massively over, isn't it? Oh yeah, 1,440. So I guess we could maybe even have 3 tree kangaroo habitats if we have a bachelor group over at the back. I mean, if we just, what habitat's this one? 15. So we want 16. Habitat 16 is 776. So yeah, we could split this one into 2, and then what we could have is a let's just go into this mode. So we can have 3 males in here. We can split this habitat sort of down the middle here-ish. We can have our 4 females, and then we can have a breeding habitat where we can put the males and the females together, and then once they've been observed to have mated, we can move them back. Something like that I think might work. I will definitely ponder that. But yeah, 3 males, 4 females, and then possibly a little slither of a habitat for breeding. And then we have the Victorian koala over here, which will be after the tree kangaroos. And then the final new build habitat for the Australia house will be the southern hairy-nosed wombat. But of course, I was thinking about giving the koalas access to the southern hairy-nosed wombat habitat, but then we've got a load of koalas sort of in the corner of the Australia house, so I'm not entirely sure I want to do that. We could, of course, put the tree kangaroos in these habitats and give them access to the southern hairy-nosed wombat, but it's 2 different regions of Australia, and I kind of don't like that idea. So it might be that we just give the southern hairy-nosed wombats 2 habitats, like with most things in the Australia house. Because if we just southern hairy-nosed, nope, southern hairy-nosed wombat. They are near threatened. You can only have 1 male, 1 female. So we could probably do 2 habitats, I think, for the southern hairy-nosed wombat, have 2 breeding pairs. And that way it's not such a wasted space. And you might think by that point that the Australia house would be done, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong for thinking that. But once this final habitat's done, this southern hairy-nosed wombat habitats, gotta go and redo this numbat habitat. I'm not entirely satisfied with how this looks now that I've split the habitats in half. So this southern hairy-nosed, no, this numbat habitat will be getting redone. Maybe a couple of tweaks on the platypus habs, just a couple, mainly this one. Just a bit more planting, I think, make it a little bit more natural. Tasmanian Devil habitats I'm very happy with. I don't think I'm going to touch them anymore. Yellow-footed rock wallabies, their habitat needs redoing. We've got young, and we've got an albino, but they can live in groups of 20. And at the moment we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, including the juveniles what have been born. 9, including this offspring. I usually trade the babies out, so maybe we'll get some additional yellow-footed rock wallabies in, just because there aren't that many in here. But their habitat could definitely do with a revamp, so I may well go numbat, yellow-footed rock wallaby, and then that will probably be the Australia house done, so I can put the door in. We can put a sign up, and we can open the Australia house, and we can as well open the zoo to the public, which is absolutely amazing that we're going to be able to do that. And I will probably do a cinematic episode. I've never really done cinematics before, but I'll do a cinematic episode just showing line your koalas up in a row. Koala centipede going on there. Yeah, I'll do a cinematic episode showing the finished Australia house. I don't think we'll get any more Australian animals in the next DLC. Could be wrong, but I don't think we'll get any more. If we do, we may need to jiggle some things about a bit, but I don't think we will be getting any more, just because we got the wallabies and the emus last time. That's 2 Australian animals, so I definitely think we're due for something else in the next DLC. But yeah, I will do a cinematic episode of the Australia house when it's open to the public, or just before it's open to the public. We don't want people clogging up our cinematics, do we? And I think after that we go back over to South America, but the Australia house technically isn't finished, because once this main section in here is done, we have this area which leads into what's going to be a custom building on the back. Oops, swung out too far, and it's going to be a nocturnal house. And we've already got one habitat in here. There's nothing in here at the moment, but it's for the bilbies, the greater bilbies. And then you can see we've got a habitat for the eastern quoll, kiwi, and then a walk-through habitat for the betong, potentially. We'll see how that works out. Which brings you out of the back here. I mean, you can see that's quite a large footprint. It's like half the Australia house just for the nocturnal stuff. But we may be able to put some exhibits in here, and maybe some future animals can go in here as well, who knows. But for now, I think I like how it looks. I think this is probably a bit too big. The betongs are tiny. Let's just have a look. Betong, brush-tailed betong. So you can only have up to 10. And yeah, so 350 millimeters, that's 35 centimeters. They're not that big. So, and can only have one offspring at a time. So this habitat is definitely far too big. So I think what I might do is bring the path down the side here, and then we'll completely cut this area out. And of course, when you exit the nocturnal house, you're brought to the food court, which isn't going to be that big necessarily, and the Takahi, or Takahe. There's going to be a few different habitats for them, because you can only have one pair in one habitat. And then of course we have the wallaby walkabout, which will be a walk-through enclosure for the Bennett's wallabies and the swamp wallabies. And then you have the Australian sea lion as a finale. But once this bit's done, the Australia house here, we move back over to South America for some pretty big builds over there, actually. But yeah, thank you very much for watching so far, ladies and gents, and thank you to please let me tell. No, I think I've got your name. Is it Sean Lyle? I'm sure it's Sean. Thank you to Sean Lyle, or whoever you are if you're not called Sean Lyle, for commenting on the previous episode that plot number 3 would probably be best for the armadillo. He's the only person that's commented, or they are the only person that's commented. So thank you very much for that. I will probably go ahead and put the armadillo in plot number 3. It's definitely my favourite of the 3 options, what was there for pre-built habitats, without putting them in the Atlantic forest. Either way, let's finish with some Tasmanian Devils having a little explore of their brand new habitat. So thank you very much for watching, my friends. Remember to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram at jw_yt. I will definitely be making more of an attempt to post new things of the zoo there. I have been a little bit lacking in that aspect towards the end of 2022 and so far in 2023. And of course, all the Tasmanian Devils have walked off and left. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Find me on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. Stay safe, stay kind. And I shall see you all next time when we build for the Lumholtz tree kangaroo. Until then, my friends, thank you for watching, and bye-bye for now.